what's the most controversial opinion you have about baseball politics?
I got a lot of opinions about baseball
let it
politics, a
rip.
ton. There's so much stuff that goes into youth baseball that really isn't important. And you feel when you're in that moment, like that environment creates this like culture where you feel it's like the most important thing that there is out there. Your kid has to be on the best team. He has to have the best swag. If I were to do it all over again, I tell this to everyone I know that has youth kids, spend all your time and money on training the kid. Get them faster, stronger, bigger. And I'm proud of what Joe's done through his travel team, but that's probably the biggest scam there is in youth sports, is thinking that you have to spend all this money in being in this big travel programs. Yeah, so we found out about Futures Academy through a couple friends. They were telling us that this new facility is being built, and Joe had gone to other training facilities in the past, and we kind of had a bad taste in our mouth. So at first we were not really sure if we were interested, but when you had the grand opening, we came down and took a look, and I mean, we fell in love the minute we walked in this place. Honestly, it wasn't even just the facility or how cool it looked or the technology, it was really the people. I mean, you guys were just so gracious to have customers and potential new family members, if you would. You guys welcomed everybody with open arms. I remember sitting down and talking to you, what Futures looks like, what your vision was. I remember sitting down talking to Brandon Oliver about what his vision was for the facility. And you could tell instantly that there was something a little bit different than the staff here. There was some passion, some genuine empathy for what parents go through. And I think for me, that first summer and seeing the gains that Joe had kind of sold us. When I think about when Joe first came to Futures, and even prior to this, when he just went to any other program, but specifically here, because you guys have a lot of technology, right? I mean, we live in a data-driven world now, and now everything has to be proven. But I love the fact that now there's tools that can say, we show measurable results, we show measurable improvement. Because in the past, if you are spending money, none of this is cheap. Travel ball's not cheap, training's not cheap. If you're investing money, as a parent, you want to see that it's going somewhere, right? And in the past, like you said, you can go to a travel ball team and what are you measuring? I got more hits off of crappy pitchers. How do you really know whether you're getting better? And you guys have a great system because you can show growth. I think it does help keep these kids on track, and for Joe, I think it really was something that really just keeps him focused and really, on track to achieve his goals. So a typical day for our family, it's a commitment for us to get here. But we wouldn't come here if it wasn't worth it. Every morning we get up about 6 o'clock, we make the drive about 30, 45 minutes. And I'll tell you, for me, it's probably one of the best parts of my day. Most people take 5-10 minutes to drop their kid off at high school and then they take off. I spend an hour every day and an hour every afternoon with my kid. And I get to catch up on, life. It's a commitment, but there's no way we would make that drive and wake up every morning to get on that freeway to come down that 91 if it wasn't paying, dividends. So I think, for anyone that's kind of looking at an opportunity, whether they live 45 minutes away or 15 minutes away, I'm living proof that, it works. It's definitely worth the drive. I would say that the advantage of coming here and getting his workout in the morning, it does lighten up the load in the evenings. Because, depending on where you are in education, depending on what school you go to, what teachers you have, you may have a ton of homework. And how do you manage having homework 3 or 4 hours a night and then doing baseball on top of that and training and eating? I mean, eating is a big part. The fact that he can eat multiple times a day, have hot meals, make sure he's getting his nutrition in. I mean, that's a huge part. I mean, gains come from sleep. So the fact that he can go to bed at 9 o'clock and he's already done with all his homework, he's already put his lift in, 3 to 4 hours worth of training, high school, practice. I mean, that's invaluable. I would say what stands out the most to me with my son coming here versus a lot of the other kids I'm exposed to is just his level of respect, maturity, his drive. I mean, you don't see that a lot with a lot of kids that go the traditional route. And I'm not bad-mouthing traditional education, but I think, when you're around other people that don't have the same kind of focus, there's a lot of distractions with that. And for Joe, what he brings and the growth that I've seen from him is, I mean, he went from a adolescent to a young man in a couple years. And that's controversial in itself. I mean, there's a lot of parents that'll say, you're taking his youth away. You're not letting him be a kid. You don't want him to go to high school and have friends. It has nothing to do with that. First of all, Joe wouldn't be here if he didn't want to be here. For me, when you hear him talk, when you see how he interacts with his friends, when he comes home and he passes on doing something that most kids would, mess around, doing things you shouldn't do. I mean, Joe's focused. You know, he's really trying to put in the extra time, but he still has time for his friends. He still has time for his girlfriend. He finds ways to balance his life out. And I think one of the biggest tips is, you know, trust your gut. Just because people tell you that this isn't the right way to do it, or it's not traditional, or you're taking things away from them, trust your gut. You know what's right for your kid. These other people, they don't know what's right for your child. They don't know. They don't see him every single day, and they don't know what's in his heart. When you look in the middle school systems, you know, in what they're being taught, there's not a lot of substance there. Elementary up into high school, it's supposed to prepare you, but what are they really preparing you for? In my opinion, when you come here, you got 2 years to get ready for high school. And I'll tell you, there's one thing that I know that is consistent across all high school coaches. So if your kid is going to play sports and he wants to play high school sports, there's one thing that's consistent. They're looking for athletes, period. Well, you can't do that unless you're training. Anyone that's looking that has a middle schooler, you put them here for 2 years training, I promise you, without a doubt, your kid's going to have a huge advantage over anyone else that's trying out at the freshman level. The reason why I want him to keep coming here is a couple different reasons. One, it works. I think most athletes, if they had this opportunity when they were young, that this is the dream. Two, when you look at who he's become as a person, like, it takes a village to raise a child, you know, and surrounding your kid with the right village, I think, is really important. Do you want the village that exists inside of traditional school, or do you want the village that exists in a high-tech facility with, you know, very positive trainers and people that all are kind of driven towards the same goal? Not that he can't do that. There's a lot of kids that do it in traditional, right? Tons of kids, but my kid's different, you know, and your kid might be different. And if that kid's different, you know, take a look, because, you know, I'm telling you, this is something special.